Welcome back to the North Star Takes podcast, your one-stop shop for Minnesota sports content and takes with Bailey Palicki and myself, Jacob Liberta, with you here. You can find any of our videos on YouTube at North Star Takes podcast, and you can follow us on Instagram. Our goal is to have about 3 to 4 segments per podcast and split those segments up into separate videos for our YouTube audience. Today, we're going to chat about the PGA Championship. Looking forward to that coming up here, and they're playing out at Kiawah Island in South Carolina at the Ocean Course. And early headlines to watch here is that this is the first time the PGA Championship has returned to this course since 2012, and back then it was Rory McIlroy winning it. It was one of his 4 major titles before he turned 25, which is, I think he's one of 3 golfers in the world to ever do that. So that's pretty significant. And then you got the defending champion, Collin Morikawa. He won last fall, actually, in California.
His first major, I believe.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and that was a huge win for his career. And then we have all the favorites coming into the field here. So I'm looking forward to seeing who emerges. I mean, got any early takes here on the PGA Championship, Bailey?
Yeah, I think, this will be an interesting one. Rory McIlroy won last week. So I don't know. He's the favorite to win. I don't know if he's necessarily going to do it, though.
Yeah.
I feel like Dustin Johnson kind of needs a bounce-back tournament. He's been kind of struggling lately. John Rahm's always a good bet in the majors, too. So those top 3 guys are all the top 3 favorites. I mean, I'd say it's pretty safe to say that they'll be up there. But, I mean, there's always a guy that surprises you, though, a guy or two that really struggle on the opening day, and then they can just never recover. So I think a guy like Bryson DeChambeau playing on a difficult course like this, I could see him struggling big time. I mean, all he cares about really is the long drive. He doesn't care where it ends up, if it ends up left, if it ends up right.
Exactly. He doesn't care about the precision of the thing. He just likes to mash the ball.
Yeah, he just loves to smash it, see how far it can go. So
exactly.
I mean, that's kind of cool too, but at the same time, I don't know if it's going to work on a course like this. So.
Yeah, exactly. Another big thing for him too is if he's getting putts to fall or not. And that's really any of these guys, especially at these major tournaments, it comes down to putts. Because as long as the rest of your game isn't just bad, like as long as it's I don't know how would I say this. As long as it's not a detriment,
right?
I guess as long as you can have a good amount of greens in regulation and you're giving yourself a chance to drop some birdies, that's the biggest thing. That's all you can ask for. And honestly, kind of going back to Rory there, I know you mentioned you're not sure if you want to bet on him or not, but it is kind of risky. I mean, he came out the last major in the Masters not too long ago, and he was bad. He missed the cut, and a lot of people attribute that to his new swing coach. They said it was kind of controversial that he switched like that close to a major tournament. They felt like that might not have been the right move. But
I could see that.
I guess you got to, if you're going to do it at some point, might as well rip the Band-Aid off and just do it. But
that's true.
It certainly paid dividends last week at the Wells Fargo Championship.
He looked real good.
Yeah, won at the same place he won at in his first PGA Tour tournament, or his first PGA Tour tournament win. So, and then obviously having the history here at Kiawah Island, that's huge for him, and he's the odds-on favorite right now. So I'm curious if we're able to put together a couple good tournaments in a row here and come on fire. And then, like you said, it's a good bet that at least one of these major guys, could be Rory, could be anybody, that these big names, they just come out flat, and you're just kind of like, why? I don't know. But then there's other guys to watch, like Webb Simpson. He's the Carolina hero. He's from there, so people around there, I'm sure all the patrons like to see like to see him play well. And then you always got Brooks Koepka in the field. And
yes, sir.
He's always a big name to watch because he thrives in the biggest spots. So
he does.
I'm excited for that. I know you're a pretty big Brooks guy yourself.
I am.
think.
Yes,
so how do you like his chances?
I like him. I mean, he hasn't had that great of a year. He's had a knee injury that he's been kind of recovering from. He tried really hard to play in the Masters, but it just was bothering him. He wasn't able to do much. So, I mean, I hope he can come through and have a good tournament, but I'm not expecting too much for him, honestly. I mean, if he can make the cut and contend, maybe be in the top 10, I'm sure he'll take that. So
yeah, exactly.
The guy I'm really curious about is Jordan Spieth. He's had a very solid year to start.
Yes, he has.
He's been at the front pretty much every tournament he's played in. So I'll be interested. At the Masters, he was doing pretty well too. He kind of fell back, on that final Sunday. I'll be kind of curious if he can hang up there the whole time this weekend, and maybe kind of finally pull through and win another major. He hasn't won a major since 2015 or something like that.
I think it was the 2015 Masters.
Yeah, so that sounds right. So it's been a long time for him. It would it would be nice to see him, finally pull out another major. So
yeah, exactly. I think that's a pretty big storyline to watch in itself. Like you said, he's played great golf in these last few months, so I think he's definitely a strong contender here, and the odds show that too. And,
yeah.
Another guy, like you mentioned, with a few of them, DJ could use a bounce back, and then John Rahm, he's always a pretty steady guy, and then Justin Thomas too. He's won a PGA Championship before,
He's
so
one of the best players in the world. We haven't even mentioned him.
Yeah, exactly. So I like him. He's usually a pretty steady player himself, and then Shoffley, I think, kind of flies under the radar, but he's always hanging around.
He's always contending.
He honestly he has as good of a chance as anybody on Sunday, besides Hideki Matsuyama at the Masters. So, obviously, I think he can contend. And then I like Victor Hovland a lot. I think he's one of the best young golfers in the world. So I'm excited to see what he does. But that's what I love about these majors, though. It's just a loaded field. And
exactly. Everyone's playing.
Yeah. Exactly. That's makes it a ton of fun to watch. So then you're honestly tuning in all the way from Thursday and round one just to see who emerges.
Exactly.
Right away. So I think the biggest thing to watch here, though, like we mentioned before, is just people getting putts to drop, and that's how you're going to gain strokes on the field, especially when you play at these majors and with the tough course conditions. They always make it really hard, so then you're not going to be able to land the ball where you want it to, and that's a big deal. And you got Kiawah Island on their website. They're boasting that they're the hardest golf course in the world. So I feel like that might be a little dramatic, but I mean, it's a tough course. So
we'll have to see. Yeah. I'll be curious what the scores are going to be. Where the winners end up, if they're just a couple under par.
Exactly.
Maybe if they're over par even a little bit.
We've seen that before.
Yeah, I'm curious how difficult this will actually be for them. So going back to your putting thing, though, I think that's another big thing for Jordan Spieth is that when he's putting really well, and he needs to drive well too, because sometimes he misses the fairway.
Oh, he can be terrible off the tee, but the rest of his game is usually pretty decent.
It's pretty solid, yes. And if he's getting putts to drop, that's where he can make up ground too, even if he has a bad drive. So that'll be interesting to see for him as well. Yeah. Colin Morikawa has one of the sweetest swings on the tour. I mean, he's just a joy to watch. He's a very solid player all around.
100%.
Super young guy. Him and Victor Hovland, two young guys that are
young studs.
Super promising.
Yep.
So then even further down on the championship odds, you got a guy like Daniel Berger, who's been in contention most of these tournaments, and I'm a pretty big Daniel Berger guy too. He always likes to hang around, and he's got a good swing too. He can drive. He usually hits the fairways. So I think basically any of these guys up here have a good shot. And the funny thing about golf is it could be absolutely none of these guys. Just be some random guy that we didn't even know existed until Sunday. So
exactly. I know that's the beauty of golf too, because it all takes one good weekend. You can win basically any tournament. You never know. And another guy too I want to mention before we end this one is Tony Feno. I feel like he always plays well, especially in the last year or so. I feel like he's always played well at these tournaments, but just not quite enough to win. And I think he's only won once in his career. And I'd like to see him get another win. I root for him almost every time, but it just comes up short for one reason or another. So that'd be another cool guy to see win. But
yeah, I agree with you there. I think Tony Feno, I always kind of feel bad for him. It always feels like he ends up getting the short end of the stick.
Exactly.
He always, gets an unlucky bounce, or like a putt will lip out or something. He doesn't have the clutch gene, which is unfortunate, but maybe he can come through and finally win one. He's got a good game. I mean, he's always contending, so
exactly.
Yeah, he'll be one to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah. So after we kind of reviewed the major players in the field, if you had to pick one right now to win the PGA Championship at the end of the weekend on Sunday, who's winning this thing?
Man, I'll probably say I'm going to say Justin Thomas.
Ooh,
I feel like he's due for a really good tournament, and it's the hardest course in the world. He's got a good all around game. He's one of the smartest players on the tour. I think he'll pull it out.
I like that pick. I was thinking about him. I'm gonna actually go John Rahm. I was kind of thinking he was gonna win the Masters, so I'm gonna jump to the next major. I'm gonna say he wins this one. I like him a lot. I like his game a lot. I feel like he's usually pretty steady. He doesn't usually have a lot of just horrible rounds. He played a great fourth round in Augusta for what that's worth. That Sunday, he had one of the best on the in the field that day. I remember that. But
I remember that too.
I'm gonna go with Rahm. I guess no particular reason specifically, but I just like him. He's one of the top golfers in the world, so I'm gonna say John Rahm.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that happening.
Yeah, but obviously, like you said, any of these guys could win major players never heard of. You don't know, but that'll conclude our segment on the PGA Championship. Please comment on this video and let us know your thoughts on who you think is going to win. If you're a big golf fan out there, and we'll see you next time.